Welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 show to bring you all things Club America in English. Your hosts for today, Ivan Pineda, Christian Rosendo, and everyone's favorite cowboy, Dylan Jimenez. Let's start the show.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Eagle Eye Podcast. Today, I'm going to be talking all things Lady Aguilas. I'm going to be previewing this upcoming semifinal match that they're going to be going up against Rayadas on Friday and Monday, a two-legged series that we hope that the ladies are more than capable of coming away with a victory and stamping a ticket into the final. And today, joining me to help preview all these things is none other than Brooklyn's very own AJ. AJ, my friend, how are we?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking, Ivan. Excited but also nervous for these upcoming matches. How are you feeling?
Same as you. Excited, a little bit nervous. But after seeing what these ladies have been capable of doing throughout this whole series, just the Guardianes and in the playoffs so far, I think that we have a good shot at, potentially beating Rayadas and then stamping our ticket into the final, like I said previously. But I mean, so much will be riding on what these ladies are capable of doing in the first game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's gonna be really fun to see these two clash with each other again, like last time in the 2019 Apertura. So it's gonna be pretty fun.
I know you definitely have some stats for us coming up later in regards to that game itself. But let's just start off and let's preview the upcoming match, which is Friday. Actually, tomorrow, if you guys are watching this live or listening to this game is going to be Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 5 Central, 10 Eastern, and no, excuse me, not 10, 6 Eastern. I'm already losing myself all over the place. But AJ, correct me if I'm wrong, but this game should be live via TUDN.
Yes, it is. TUDN USA. And if you don't happen to catch it on TUDN on your TV, you can also watch it on Facebook, on America Femenil's fan page on Facebook.
Alrighty, so America Femenil's Facebook is officially the place to go if you are not going to be in front of a TV like I won't be because of work, of course. But we're excited and we're ready to go. And you guys don't miss any of the live coverage that we're going to be having over on our Twitter accounts. Make sure you guys follow us at Eagle Eye Podcast. We'll have you guys covered with all things Lady Aguilas for tomorrow's game and Mondays as well. All right, AJ, let's talk a little bit more about what these ladies can expect, or what more or less though, what can we expect from the ladies coming into this first matchup. We went off a really good series against Chivas, although we kind of left it a little bit scary at the end. But how do you think these girls are coming into this one and kind of like, what is the vibe right now in Guapa?
Vibe is pretty good right now. Just to see in training, everyone's hard at work. They got to train at the Azteca, which is a great thing because the ladies are going to be playing at the Estadio Azteca against Rayadas tomorrow. So it's really good. They even got a visit from Emilio Azcárraga. So it's always to have his presence right there to see the women's team training. That's got to give them a lot of confidence. And as well, you're coming off of beating your rivals in the first leg of the Liguilla. So it's pretty nice to see that they beat Chivas in the quarterfinals, and now they're gonna play against Rayadas, which is a team they have played against before last time that they played in the Liguilla. So all in all, it's pretty good. I feel like America Femenil, they're coming into this one pretty confident, if I say so myself.
Yeah, definitely, and that's a pretty good way to come into this game. And I mean, what better way? You just mentioned it right now, but it doesn't get any more official than the boss himself coming down and saying, "Hey, good luck, but know that know what you're representing." I'm pretty sure he went out there. There's a picture of him kind of talking to the ladies. How do you think that conversation went?
It must have went pretty well because, you don't see every day that the boss just, makes his way down to the Azteca, or that we see any kind of footage of him by him. He's probably just saying to the ladies that I'm really proud of what you have done. Sure, we know what happened with the men's team, but you're representing the institution really well. You've beaten Chivas, and you're only just a couple games away from the final. So keep your head into the game. Play every single game as if it was your last for this club. Defend the team's colors with everything you got, and by doing so, you can get the victory. And you can do anything that you can to get that title.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I think that that conversation definitely had to be a little bit inspirational for everyone on the team. I can only imagine what Azcárraga was saying, right? Like, Go out there, score some goals, break some legs if you need to, but make sure you end up getting your ticket into the final. And we'll talk about exactly how the ladies have to play in order to get to the final. So we know that the home advantage is going to be a great one because we're going to have the Azteca finally for the ladies to play in. I mean, AJ, talk to me a little bit more about America Femenil and how they should more likely line themselves up in the first game, and then we'll talk a little bit more about tactics.
You want me to say what the lineups or just?
Yeah. We'll start off. Just give us your predicted lineup of what most likely they will end up going with, and just we'll go off from that.
Perfect. For my expected lineup, I got a 4-4-2 formations they usually been going with. I had goalkeeper Nata Mascherelli starting. Our backboards will consist of Selena Valera at the left back position. Two strikers will be Ana Gabe and Jocelyn Orejel. We're gonna have as a right back Monica Rodriguez. In the midfield, we're gonna be center midfielders and Cascuevas. On the left, it's going to be Montse Hernandez. On the right, it's going to be Hannah Gutierrez. And your two forwards up front are going to be Marlene Campa and Dani Espinosa.
Definitely. Okay. I like that formation. That's exactly kind of what we went with in the past series against Chivas. And I think that this formation and these players are finally gelling and clicking. And they have some momentum, right? And I've said it time and time again, and I'll repeat myself, that Alegría is basically that momentum. Run with it. If you have it, use it, and just continue to find that groove. And I think that's exactly what this team has. It's starting to find said groove. And I think the only real worry that me and you have, AJ, at this moment is that defense, and maybe sometimes a little bit that midfield, but mostly the defense. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I mean, overall, if Cuellar does end up putting this formation out there, I mean, I don't think there's anybody out there that would maybe bat an eye or even want to change anything.
Yeah, no, really. I mean, the only thing you could maybe consider changing from the lineup is a left back at Selena Valera. You could put Jimena Rios because she probably should be coming back. And then if you do want, you could substitute Eva Gonzalez out for Vero Perez, who has been back into training again with the wins. But at the same time, you kind of don't want to ruin any kind of chemistry because this is a line we've essentially been running with the last couple of games, and it has done us good. But sure, as you mentioned before, Ivan, it's just the defense. They're going to need to be slightly careful because, as you saw earlier in that Chivas match, we were up 2-0, and then silly defensive mistakes ended up costing us 2 goals, which is something you definitely don't want to do against a Rayadas side that has really been deadly throughout the entire season. So that's something we would need to be careful of. In midfield, I'd say we're good for the most part. Just make sure we can connect our passes together because that's mostly important. We really don't want to be losing the ball into the midfield because the Rayadas get on that counterattack. It isn't going to be looking good for America Femenil.
Definitely. And I want to pose a question to everyone watching this or everyone listening to this, and let us know who has been the player that has had the most outstanding past couple of games for America, and who is going to be the player that needs to show up in this series against Rayadas for America to stamp their ticket into the final. AJ, that question goes for you as well, and I'll get your answer a little bit later on down the road in the show. I just want to open the question up to our listeners and our viewers because I'm interested to see whether or not some of the players that I have in mind will be the same that maybe you have, or maybe that the rest of our audience has as well. But AJ, you just mentioned that the defense has to be crucial. It has to be as concentrated as possible. And we mentioned that one player that has had one amazing, spectacular season is Renata Mascherelli. And it's no question, no doubt that she's definitely going to be just as busy as this game as she has in the prior matches. I mean, at this point, sometimes it feels like it's Renata Mascherelli plus 10 whenever we are going up against some of these rivals. But how do you go about it? If you're Renata Mascherelli, how would you go about it and kind of lining up your defense and saying, okay, ladies, look, we know we've had some good solid matches, but we haven't really been able to keep consistent clean sheets time and time again. How would you kind of manifest to them and say, okay, we know that the importance of this match is walking away with a clean sheet. How would you go then and say, this is how we line up, this is how we're going to go about it, this is how we're going to keep Rayadas out of our goal?
Really, it's just for first match, it's all about the communication. Always yell to your defenders. If they're seeing there's a spot completely open where a Rayadas player can get up front, whoever that may be, yell at that player, look right there, come back, or go forward, or challenge it, or don't challenge it. It's one of those things where Renata Mascherelli would need to communicate because there has been instances where I feel like any goalkeeper that has played for America Femenil, along with their defense, it seems like there seems to be some kind of communication issue, whether it's coming from a set piece or if it's just the defense just being clobbered all over the place. Because as you see, if you're a goalkeeper and all your defenders are completely covered with the ball I mean, for the defenders, it may look good, but for the goalkeepers, bad. Because if that player happens to get a shot off, the goalkeeper's going to have a tough time trying to figure out where that ball is coming from, whether it's going to be top left, the bottom, top right, to bottom, wherever that may be. So I think it's really for Masharelli just having to communicate with her defense and just telling players to know your areas and know what you need to do. If you feel like you cannot really chase that player down, ask a defender if you need help. But at the same time, if the said defender is going to be going out, Masha is going to need to tell that other player, come right into that spot to fill that in, because you never want to leave an open spot in case you need to double team. You kind of always want to have that other spot that is not being occupied by someone else, where that can be like a center defense in midfield, as you see sometimes with Vero Perez, who she would come down into the box to help out, or Eva Gonzalez. I feel like this is the case where Renata is going to need to communicate. And I feel like she really isn't one when you see her conceding goals, she doesn't get that frustrated. But it's one of those instances where she should just tell the team, like, clap her hands, like, come on, like, stop out of it. Let's get right back into it. So it's just for her, really, staying calm and collected, but at the same time, if you need to give feedback to your defenders, give them the feedback that's needed, whether it's telling them you're a bit all over the place, try to fix that up, or if they're telling there's a spot that's always constantly being left open, but like nothing happens there, just tell them, look at that spot, be careful, because that spot's open for too much. It might bite you back at some point later on down the road against Rayadas.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned that, this team is going to be under a lot of firepower. They're going to be under kind of a bit of scrutiny from this Rayada side, because we know how good they are. We know that they're capable of creating chances. And this is a team that's capable of being able to, make something happen and find a goal inside the box, where they're, more than capable of, shooting from 18, 25 yards out. So I know you have quite the stat to give us in regards to Rayadas. I know in the last game that they had a lot of shots and a lot of shots on target as well. So, how talk to me a little bit more about Rayadas and then, their kind of effectiveness in front of goal.
Just this Rayadas squad, it's really scary just looking at it. They got forwards that can essentially score at any given point. There's even players who can even go on the wing and they will still score goals. You got like Diana Evangelista, Cristina Birkenrod, Monica Monsivais. All these players, two of these players are almost one of them is at double digits. The other, she's almost close to hitting double digits. So at this point, it's really scary to what this offense could do. A sideline that they had from the last game they played against Pumas, they beat them 4-0 after tying their first game 1-1 against them in the first leg. They had 21 shots, and 13 of those 21 shots were on target. They were essentially as if they were in training, just having a go at their goalkeeper and tell him, okay, I'm going to shoot, try to catch this. If you don't, try again. But for Pumas, it wasn't the case. They were getting scored left and right. So just hearing stat lines like that, that's pretty scary. And not to mention, some of the midfielders, they're also capable of trying to score goals too. You got like players like Diana Garcia, Yamil Franco. They're capable of doing that too. And in defense, you got players like Monica Flores and Rebecca Bernal. And Rebecca Bernal, that's a player I feel like everyone would know in the Liga MX Femenil. She's a defender who can go up and also score goals. She can score crazy long shots. But if it's a penalty at any given point, expect her to take that 99.9% out of 100%. She's gonna score that penalty. So it's really scary seeing that how every player in this Monterrey squad are pretty much capable of scoring goals. And at the same time, they're also capable of playing their positions. Midfielders are going to pass. They're going to dribble. Some midfielders are going to defend. In defense, they're usually going to be going up. They're going to defend the ball. But some of these players, they'll catch you by surprise. You might see Bernal probably up at midfield or even up front at the pitch, just having a shot right on Renata Macher, which is something you definitely don't want to have, because I feel like that's one of the things with this Rayada side. They score a lot, but with some of these goal scores, it comes by surprise to who's scoring them. But for the most part, I feel like it's really being careful about their front three, which is you have players like Cristina Birkenrod, Diana Evangelista, Monica Monsivais, or Daniela Solis. And these players, they're really deadly at any given point. If you give them the ball at any point and the defense slacking off, they're most likely gonna score the goal. And not to mention Christina Birkenrold, she was playing as a winger in the last game, and she's like 5'10". So I would expect that our left backs for America Femenil, whether it's Selena Valero or Jimena Rios, they may have a tough time trying to contain Christina Birkenrold. So it's just really being careful to know what these Rayadas players can do.
So, I mean, it goes without saying that this team is definitely one to look out for. I mean, there's a reason why they finished so high in the table, and there's a reason why they continuously are front runners for the league title year in and year out. They have a very good squad, but it's not to say that we are discrediting our ladies or even tossing any opportunity out the window. We're just kind of being a little bit we're just trying to give you guys, kind of a realization of like this game by no means necessary will it be easy by any chance at all. Monterrey is going to come out here to win. They know how to win these type of games. They've been in these situations. They understand kind of the pressure that is going to be on them. And now I think the most important part is that the ladies go up there and match the level of intensity, match kind of the athleticism and everything that is going to be, being outputted by Rayadas. And we mentioned that the most important thing about this match, AJ, is coming away with a very good result, that being a victory. I don't see how a draw even helps America. I think you have to be as concrete as you can in front of goal, and we'll talk about that because I'm pretty sure some of these ladies will definitely have their chance in front of goal, and they're gonna have to be clinical. I don't see how Rayadas gives us more than maybe 4 or 5 opportunities, and within those chances, we just have to make one of those go in. And like we mentioned prior to this, our defense has to be as tight and as rock solid as possible. You just mentioned that stat. It's a crazy stat. 21 shots and 13 of those being on target. I mean, that's more than half of their shots being on target. So we know that they have an eye for goal, and that is to say the least about this Rayada side. So I think it's just, and I'm pretty sure the ladies are very much aware of this, but you see everything that's going on in and around the training, and you see some of the pictures, you see some of the posts by some of these players, and you're just seeing there's this kind of belief in the air that they have this under control, that they know what is expected of them, and that they're going to go out there and prove anyone who says that they are not favorites to win this league title. And that's actually a really nice thing to have, because it gives that sense of serenity, that sense of calmness that, okay, they know that, they have a big ask, they have a big task, and rightfully so. You're in the semifinals, but you have a moment to kind of immerse yourself in history, and I think that they understand this, and it's going to be, it's going to be quite a game tomorrow on Friday. Let's talk a little bit more about how these ladies have to go up and play against Monterrey. I mean, we kind of put Monterrey in this kind of pedestal of like, this is a great hierarchy team with some great players, which they are definitely so, but they aren't unbeatable is what I'm trying to say at this point, AJ. And looking at this Rayada side, and I know you watched some of their games, where do you think their biggest flaw is? Where do you think their biggest weakness will come from?
It's difficult, I guess, really to say it's if it makes sense. Like when they're not in the moment, they get caught off guard, because this is a Rayada side that did lose to Chivas 4-2 in the regular season. And as people did mention, this Rayada side doesn't look like the Rayada side we usually see, because even before, they tied up against Pumas 1-1, in which a game that surprised everyone. Everyone simply thought that Rayadas were going to go in there and just blow Pumas right on the water. And then they give Pumas that one opportunity. They make the most out of it and scored. And then that's when Rayadas were just like, what just happened? That even caught me by surprise too. So I think in this case, really, it's if you can frustrate Rayadas in a way they cannot get any shot, or they'll get the shots, but they just can't get it in. You might see them get frustrated, which is a good thing, because when you are frustrated at any moment, that goes for any soccer player, you may do things that you're not supposed to, where it's like you get the ball and you immediately shoot the ball when you're not supposed to. Think a second before. It's like, should I shoot it? Should I pass it? Or you get too aggressive and you're trying to go for the ball and you end up like tackling a player's leg, and then that's going to give you a yellow card or worse, a red. So I think in this case, I feel that's a point where it's like, if Rayadas cannot get their mojo really going early on into this game, they can get that early goal to let the floodgates open. They're going to be in a case where they're trying to constantly figure out what can they do to break it. And I feel like at that point, that's where America Femenil should be taking advantage of. Remember, the last time we did play against Rayadas, it was this season. We only lost 2-1 with them, in which it caught many by surprise that America were keeping up with Rayadas. And as well, maybe we're saying America were really playing well. We were coming off of a sluggish start after drawing a couple of games against Liga caliber sides, and we were keeping up with Zaya's side. The only letback, really, it was just the silly fouls that Janae Gonzalez committed that ended up giving Rayadas 2 penalties, which I'm sorry, Janae, I had to bring that up for that. But just, but yeah, no, I just feel like things like that, I feel like America knows what they have to do against Rayadas. If we can frustrate them to a way where they cannot figure out what to do, that's our opportunity to capitalize on that. We see if we can get a through ball across, anything that we can get in order to get the ball to Dennis Espinosa or Marlene Campa, give it to them. They can do something with it, because I feel like Rayadas is also a side where their defense likes to go up a lot. And if you can catch them out on that counterattack, it's really only a one-on-one. And we see from time to time with Dani Espinosa and Marlene Campa, when it's a one-on-one, they're most likely going to score the goal unless they got another defender accompanying the goalkeeper. So it's really try to throw Rayadas off their game. Try to get them as frustrated early as possible. It's like I know it sounds scary, but it's like kind of test them. We've seen Renata Mesharelli from time and time again, making ridiculous saves left and right, and she looks calm and collected, like as if like she's not really getting so angry. I feel this is the thing. We can do that and try to get Rayadas to their breaking point, and then we expose them on the defense and get on the counterattack. America Femenil can do something about it, and we can walk away with a win in the first leg, which will be a really good result for us.
That definitely seems to be the case that America has to do. They have to go in there, get under the Rayada skin, under the Rayada players' skin, and like you mentioned, just frustrate them. You know, this team isn't unbeatable, and we've seen it, especially in the regular season. We were keeping up to them, and I think you failed to mention this, AJ. We could have had a couple of goals early in that game if it wasn't for some one-on-one opportunities that kind of went a little bit wide. And so, I mean, you know, if like I mentioned, this is one of those games where you won't have the luxury of being able to, you know, miss those opportunities, because they will come back and bite you later down the road if you don't take them. So, like I mentioned, Rayadas will give us some chances. It's just up to the ladies who have the opportunity to put the ball in the back of the net. And I think you brought it up really good, AJ. You know, this is a team that will frustrate easily if you can, you know, get in their head a little bit. But let's talk a little bit about how America Femenil has to go out there and play this first game, because I don't think that a lot of people would imagine for America to go out there, play the possessive game, you know, try to take the game straight to Monterrey. I think that they're going to try to be a little bit more conservative. I feel like Cuellar is going to try to just kind of soak in a bit of the pressure and try to relieve it. I'm worried that he's going to go out and play a little bit long ball United, because that's kind of seems to be the tactic sometimes when we go up against these kind of bigger rival sides, whenever we go up against the Tigres, or you even saw it sometimes against Chivas, or even against Rayadas. There's moments in times where America forgets that this is a possession type based game, where the person who has the more control of the ball technically usually has more of an opportunity to dictate the game. And so I think that America Femenil has to go out there and be as creative as they can be, but at the same time be as disciplined as you can be with the ball. Move it around, pass it, you know, let the Rayadas players run more than you. You know, stretch out the field. It's the Azteca's pretty wide, so you know, take advantage of that. I really do fear for America to just go out there and start just launching that ball forward and looking for Dani, looking for Marlene, and just consistently looking for that long ball. It worries me, but I mean, do you think that can pay off?
It's one of those things where it's like you can attempt it, but if you realize it's like you're starting to make mistakes from that, like whether Rayadas can take the ball away in the air and then immediately down the counterattack, that should be one of those where it's like, okay, let's not do that anymore, because we don't want to overwhelm to the defense to the point where we could commit a silly foul, whether it's in the box. And this is not going to be a whole show where I talk about how the referees in the Liga MX Femenil, where some of their calls are so questionable, but it's one of those things. It's like, don't commit a silly foul like that if we're making mistakes like that. But I feel like with the position with the formation of a 4-4-2, it's one of those things where it's like you can attack and you could defend as well. But I feel like in this case, it's a balance between everything. As I like to usually mention before, everyone gets a touch of the ball. Get yourself accustomed with it. Like, get yourself situated in the first couple of minutes and see how the thing's going. Surely it may be boring at first, but maybe that's the whole point. at some point you're gonna throw the Rayadas players off and try to mention, are they ever gonna move forward? Forget this. I'm gonna just go for it and try. Maybe that's what they're gonna try to do. They want to get one of the Rayadas key players to go up front. Then you have one of the America Femenil players in midfield, get the ball, and then try to get a string of passes going. Because I feel like it's really important for this midfield to get the strings of passes going. Like we see earlier on in the season with their stats where you see America Femenil players having those passing percentages of like 80%. That's something we want to have. We get clear passes and we want to get those open opportunities, which is what we want to get from this America Femenil side. So really, I feel like it's just get yourself situated in the first couple of minutes. If we see an open opportunity, get that ball to where the opportunity is at. If it's up front, they're leaving an open space in the fence, lob that ball, or if it's the ball's in midfield, send a through ball right to and have Dani or Marlene Campa run to it. Because you see from time to time, again, we can see Dani Espinosa just shrug off defenders like no tomorrow and just play ring around the rosy with them and then go on a one with the goalie. Whether you look then at Marlene Campa, if you make a silly mistake in defense, just like back when Claudia Sid tried to pass the ball to her own goalkeeper, Marlene Campa is just going to speed right through there and just get the tap in. And know with her aggression, she got that 9-9 aggression. She will get feisty with the defense. She'll get her arm in and maybe do a little like push and then get a shot. So that's what we really want to see. If we can get ourselves situated, pass the ball around a bit, get it in midfield. If there's an opportunity for us waiting there, put that ball in there. Lob it, low pass, ground pass, whatever you need to do to get the opportunities. Because those opportunities, they may come once in a while, or we can get really lucky and Rayadas are not having a great in defense. You get all those opportunities in the world. Take the most out of it. You can get a shot on, get that shot on. If it can be a long shot, and whoever it is, whether it's Cascuevas, Dani, Montse, Hannah, Marlene, take that shot. You never know it's going to go in because we see long shots in the Liga MX Femenil where you think that's not going in. Then seconds is like, oh, that's going in. Oh, my God, that just went in. Just take it. You never know what's going to happen because these goalkeepers in the Liga MX Femenil, while they are good, they kind of lack some kind of height where it's like they do make an attempt to get the ball, but just the ball is too far at top bins where it's like, I can't do anything about it, so go in. So just take the opportunities you can get, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of a recurring theme here in this episode today is taking those chances and being as clinical as you can be. And you mentioned it, the two players that are going to be up front, which is Dani and Marlene. They're going to have a crucial role. They're going to be running a lot. I would expect one of them, if not both of them, to be subbed out later on in the game, roughly around the 80th minute. But a lot of what happens is going to depend on what they're capable of orchestrating up there. Because I feel like at times they are going to be a little bit isolated. They are going to be a little bit left alone to kind of just make some magic happen out of nothing. And we know that they're capable of doing that. And I think they understand that role just as well as anyone who can understand it. So I think we're in good hands in regards to that aspect. Dani has to carry the team on her shoulders. She knows that she is the captain, that she has a responsibility wearing that number 10 jersey. She understands her role perfectly. And you mentioned Marlene Campa. She's developed and she's grown into the role even more so throughout the season. I mean, you just mentioned it, that 99 aggression. I stick to what I said last time. She's one player I do not want to be marking because she looks like she's definitely going to throw an elbow or two at you when the ref's not looking. But granted, she's crucial to what this America side is capable of doing, and she has hustle, she has energy, she has that determination to keep looking for the ball and keep fighting, and she is not backing down out of anything. She will go for a 50-50 ball and use every sense of aggression that she has to try to win that ball. So in that aspect, I think we're pretty good hands. Let's talk a little bit about the midfield. I know we talked a little about the defense, what they need to do, and then how important the clean sheet is walking at the end of the day. We just talked about our forwards, that they have to be clinical and they have to keep chasing that ball and they have to sometimes make something out of nothing, and all that good stuff. Let's talk about our midfield a little bit because it's a little bit of an interesting one here. Eva Gonzalez has really grown into that center defensive mid role in these past couple of games. And I mean, she had a worldie against Chivas, which ultimately will then amp up her motivation and her confidence coming into this game against Rayadas. Hannah Gutierrez is another player that's looked spectacular in these last couple of games. She's definitely grown into the position and she knows what is being asked of her. And I gotta admit, AJ, she surprised me. This is someone that I criticized very heavily throughout the regular season. You and me both. and she's definitely, taken that starting position, and she's made it her own. She's done things. She's played 90 minutes, and she's looked fantastic throughout these last couple of games. I mean, what more can be said about Montserrat Hernandez? I mean, she is literally the lifeline of this team sometimes, and what she's able to create, is going to be important. I mean, just talk to me a little bit more about this midfield. How important of a game are they going to have at home against Rayadas?
You're playing at the Azteca for the first time in a while. You got to train the Azteca. Sadly, yes, there's going to be no fans there, but for this midfield, they need to show out there to why Leo Guerra chose them to be in that midfield and prove that what they can do to bring life into the midfield, and the reason to why they can do any kind of pass you can give to them and they can deliver to their forwards. And if they can, get themselves to score a goal, because this midfield, while we always see changes from time to time, whether it's in formations or players getting injured, some of these players, for the most part, they do have good games. Like you mentioned before, Hannah Gutierrez has been one that really has surprised me, and I feel like maybe this right midfield position might be the position for her. I feel like as a winger, she didn't have the qualities that is needed to be of a winger, but to play in a position like in a 4-4-2 and then to fit into the right midfield, and you even see from time to time she does get herself involved in the play more from what I feel like as a wing, where I feel like she doesn't have the pace to get to it. So I feel like she's doing an excellent job. Eva Gonzalez, ever since Vero Perez really got the injury, which now she's back training with the team, but with Eva Gonzalez, she's really been surprising. I think she's really hit the expectation that everyone expected from her. Come from St. Hall University, playing college soccer, everyone had doubts, like, it's her first time in this league. You think she wouldn't know how this league plays out, but then you're seeing she just slots into that midfield like the last piece of the puzzle fits right in. It's like, okay, we don't have to worry too much of an issue. We even seen from time to time, again, she's able to provide plays. She can pass, she can defend, and she can even shoot the ball, which is great. Gas Cuevas, what more can be said about her? She's essentially like a hybrid play. She's essentially like a hybrid player. She's a center attacking midfielder. She's a center midfielder, and at times she's even a forward who's even capable of scoring goals. Remember, this is the position she played originally when you had that starting trio of Gas Cuevas, Dani Espinosa, and Lucero Cuevas, and you ever gave the baller or too much space, like kind of like Dani, she will dribble right past you and then just get a shot. And Montserrat Hernandez, as you mentioned, it seems like she's the heart of this midfield. Her blistering pace, just going down the wing constantly, taking down defenders one by one, and then getting the cross. It always seems to connect. It's like a given. You have her taking a corner, it's going to land on someone's head or foot, and then they're going to have a shot on. But I feel like recently, her crosses haven't been the best, but then what I feel like, I think maybe that's one of the things that America Femenil are trying to get away from, because everyone's kind of know how America Femenil kind of plays in their play style, where in midfield, it's usually give the ball to Montse, she's going to run down the wings, cross it, and find somebody. I feel like in this case, she can't do it. She's like, I'm going to run, but I'm just going to do a ground pass instead. If I could see Gus or Eva Gonzalez supporting me, I'm going to pass it right to them. And then she's kind of like, you know what to do from there. And if anything, I will assist up front with Marlene and Dani. So that's why I like. And then when you also have the other options in midfield, whether it's Zuma Hernandez, Jem Munoz, or Zaira Moreno, they can fit in the spots pretty well. Center midfield and center defensive midfielder positions are pretty much secured. Jennifer Munoz, when healthy, a deadly midfield that can essentially feel like she's like a Swiss Army knife, where it feels like she could just do whatever she possibly can. Dribble, she could run, and she could shoot. Zuma Hernandez, if you really need a defensive a player that was just all about defense and acting like as a fifth defender, you could put her right in. And then if you want a youngster in who is kind of like Cascos, I mean, in a way how she reminds you of just going up front time, you can get Zaira Moreno. It'll be her if she does play, it'll be her first time playing in the league at such a young age of 16. And I feel like as a youngster, he's kind of turning heads really. And everyone's like, she could be one of the future players to be starting for America Femenil. So just really this entire midfield, it's perfect. And not to mention one more, Vero Perez. When she was starting for us from day one against Cruz Azul, she was playing really well. She was taking every single set piece, corners if you need to. If it's a free kick, it was most likely gonna end up either in the goalie's hands, but in the terms of the goalie having to block that ball out to make sure not go in. And she even happens to get the rebound off at time, just go right up front and then put it right back in. So really this midfield, really interesting to what you have. And when you put them in, they give it their all, regardless if they're playing the full 90, 45, 30, 20, 10, whatever minutes you give them, they play with 110%, which is what you love to see from the midfield.
Definitely. And you touched upon it a little bit too. I think the depth that this bench has is important coming into these two games, especially the first one. I think that we're going to see a couple of alterations and a little bit of rotation regarding, it's all going to be based on how the game is going, right? If America's winning, I think we're going to see a much more defensive substitutions being made. That's when I think you're going to see, Hernandez come in and we're going to see maybe, other players come off the bench. Maybe we fall back to a back five. I mean, it's all going to be depending up in the air, for level. We need to find that goal. We could see a lot more, offensive substitutions like, Molina, Jen, but I think just naming these players off the bat and you thinking to yourself and you look over at the bench and you think, wow, there's quality players that can come in and change the game. And I think that's an important thing that this America roster has. And we knew it coming into the season that, hey, this America team has depth, something that this America side maybe has lacked in the past couple of years. But now there is actual depth in here that can change the game in an instance. So I think that this is really good. This is really positive. And at the end of the day, it's going to be up to the ladies to go out there, play the game that kind of, indicates for them to do. And them too. They're professional players. There's a reason why they're in this situation. They've earned it. They've definitely, tested the waters and they've gotten themselves into this situation. So it's up to them to go out there and find the game, take the game to Monterrey. Don't sit back too much. Don't give them too much space. It's one thing to respect the rival and have that respect for them, but it's another thing to be a little bit too cautious and a little bit too respectful in the matter of letting them have a little bit too much of the ball. At the end of the day, you're at home. Take that advantage because look, these chances only come once in a lifetime, especially for some of these ladies. We'll see what happens at the end of the season. Whether we keep all of them or if some of them are going to come and go. But at the end of the day, you're in the moment. Take the opportunity right now. And take the game to Monterrey and go out there, score your goals because really, it's really it's really at their disposal.
Really, it's just the midfield. You're kind of like the Mozarts, pretty much. You're the one that's orchestrating everything in midfield and creating the place for your teammates. So it's feel like it's one of those things. That's like you're looking at teams and you look at your midfields. I feel the forwards. They cannot always do everything by themselves. They can't be in midfield, get the ball away, and they just go run up ahead by themselves. They need the midfield. They need that support pretty much. So when the midfields get the ball, they're going to be the ones searching for one of their teammates or creating the play for their team to get everyone involved, which I feel like the midfielders, they have to play in big roles. So players like Montse Hernandez, Hannah Gutierrez, if we do get to see Jen play, players like her, and even in offense, if we do happen to see Janae Gonzalez or Diana Casas, which is players we haven't seen play in a while, they can use some of their offensive capabilities as well to move up with the ball in order to help search a pass for their teammates or create something up for it. So it's just really the midfield. It's really important for them to have a big game against Rayadas because pretty much you're in the semifinals. You're just 2 games away from the 2 biggest games of your career. So right now, it's really think of what's ahead, and you need to pretty much play 110%. Play with your team's colors and do your very best that you possibly can to help your teammates win this game and your team win to get into the final round.
No, yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you, Adrian. Talking about 2 games, we'll briefly touch upon the second leg in just a moment. But before we do, let's wrap up this first leg preview and give me your prediction for Friday's match.
Friday's match. I got a 2-1 victory going for America Femenil. I'll have Marlene Campa scoring a goal, and I'm going to have Daniela Espinosa scoring a goal for us.
2-1 victory does not fill me with much confidence because that is an away goal for Rayadas, and we cannot allow that. But AJ, I feel where you're coming from, and still, a victory is a victory, and like I mentioned, a result of that caliber would mean the world to us. So, with that said, I'm going with an America 2, Rayadas 0. I think we can pull it off. I think we can definitely get the clean sheet. I think we can surprise them, get 2 goals, maybe an early goal, meaning that we're pushing, we're forcing Monterrey to open themselves more up, throw more bodies up, and I think later down the road we'll see a little bit more of tired legs, and some of these kind of substitutions might pay dividends, and we can see a late goal for America. And if Macerelli is in beast mode the way that she continues to be, I think that we will hold off to the clean sheet and hopefully have a 2-goal cushion going into Rayadas Stadium, which will be an important one because AJ, that second leg is not going to be a walk in the park, by no means necessary. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But beforehand, I want to remind you guys that today's episode is brought to you guys by Foot Cult. If you guys haven't checked them out, make sure you guys do so. They're selling some amazing, amazing gear for you guys to wear, whether it's this amazing Eagle Eye podcast training kit, whether it's, abundance of other different teams in Liga MX. Make sure you guys go check them out. They're doing amazing stuff. And we're really loving every single thing that they're putting out. If you guys do like or enjoy anything that you guys see and you want to purchase something, make sure you guys use the discount code EEP at checkout to get 10% off. Again, that is discount code EEP at checkout to get 10% off. AJ, are we ready to talk second half? I mean, not second half, second leg.
I am ready.
Jesus. All right. Well, let's not go with the premises of saying that America has already won the first leg, because we don't know where things stand in that aspect. So let's try something a little bit different here, AJ. Let's talk about what the ladies need to do regardless of the result going into Monterrey, right? Because it's a bit premature for us to say that there is a certain scoreline that's going to be happening, or we even know how the game is going to kind of unfold, which makes our job a little bit more difficult, if I'm being quite frank with you. But talk to me, regardless of what happens in America's matchup in the first leg, how would you plant yourself in the second match if you were America?
Defense. Defense is very key, because the last time we played Rayadas in the Liguilla at home, we made a crucial mistake in blowing a 2-0 lead. We conceded a penalty in the 72nd minute, in which Rebecca Bernat put away. And then in the 90th minute, Rayadas happened to get another goal. And then in the away leg, when they played the Estadio Bancomer, they scored in the 12th minute. That was not good. We were already just conceding something early as that. And then in the 19th minute, JD Gutierrez committed an autogol, which already at that point,
God.
yeah, I was watching that video. I'm just like, you cannot be serious. So it's that thing, the defense needs to be as tight as possible. As I mentioned before, Mascherelli communicate with their defenders, and the defenders communicate with one another. There's a spot open. Tell that player, I'm gonna watch that spot. Or it's like, I'm gonna fill this spot in slightly, but be careful. It's one of those things where the defense needs to be solid, because we have seen from time and time again, America Femenil, while we have a solid defense, we do make tiny little mistakes, whether it's from a set piece where the defense is just all over the place and we cannot tell where the ball is even at, or we give the player way too much space and then they can have a shot, and it's either we have to leave it to our goalkeeper, or if that ball is way too high up and it's going top bins, you're going to maybe need to let that ball go. And since in this case, we're playing away, you do not want to give away a goal and get the home team comfortable immediately, especially early as in the 12th minute, because when Rayadas scored in that 12th minute, they were just going at it with America Femenil. America Femenil were just essentially frustrated to the point that Cuellar pretty much had to sub out defender for another defender, because that defender was not doing their job properly. So that's one of these you definitely don't want to be using up early. It's early substitutions where specifically has to be a defense, or it has to be a midfielder for a defensive midfielder, and you have to tell him to play back so we could play like a one with 5 defenders. So it's this thing really, if we do happen to have a lead, we need to keep that lead. And what we really need to do, have that defense come up big. You can do that, and we can frustrate Rayadas, as we mentioned before, which I feel is what we want to do. throw them out of their mojo, frustrate them as much as we possibly can. If we can get the opportunity to go up and get a shot on target, go for it. If we can't, just be solid in defense. This also goes to the midfield as well. They can defend. We have essentially a right midfielder who used to play as a left back in Hannah Gutierrez, which she can defend. Eva Gonzalez, with her playing as a center midfielder, she's a center defensive midfielder who can throw herself and go all-out defense on Rayadas play to get the ball away from them. And then pretty much, if that ball's able to get away, you got Gaskovas and Monza that could just go up at that point, really, and go and do their part in offense and get that ball rolling up front. So really, at the end of the day, just defense has got to be tight. If we can do that, we should be fine for the most part.
No, yeah, I agree with you. And you just mentioned, right, defense has to be as solid. And because of that, I think a lot of eyes are going to be on Jocelyn, right? I think it's to say without a doubt that she is the best defender we have in this team, right? I mean, the defense has looked a whole different defense ever since she slotted in there. And she's come up big in moments where, you wouldn't have expected it. And she needs to continuously have that kind of physical battle with the Rayadas players and say, look, I'm going to be a fortress. I'm going to be a wall. You will not and you shall not pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that has to be Jocelyn. And I know she just came into this team, and I know that she has just only, one regular season under her belt, but she has to come up and be a leader in this defense. She has to start communicating. She has to be the one pointing the finger. She has to be the one moving the pieces around. And it's not to discredit anything that the defenders next to her do, or especially with the time that they have been at America, but I just feel like she has an advantage, not just a literal height advantage, but she has kind of an advantage that she is such a versatile player, such a talented defender that is capable of defending, attacking, being physical, being light on her feet. Like she can do almost everything that you ask of her. And I think it's important that she goes out there and she finds a way to do exactly what you said, AJ. Frustrate this Rayadas offense, frustrate this Rayadas team. And there's gonna be moments where this game's gonna get a little chippy, that she's gonna have to be physical, she's gonna have to cover the ball, she's gonna have to use her body, and she's just gonna have to, get in under the players' skin and just kind of, she's gonna have to take some elbows, she's gonna have to take some fouls, but that's okay because I think she can handle it. She can definitely take it. And like I mentioned, she has to be a critical piece of this America victory. And it's not to say that, regardless of the fact, if America comes into this match with a victory, nothing changes. The fact is that it's still 0-0 at their stadium. You have to go in there as a new game and a new challenge and see it as from a perspective of like, okay, it's 0-0 on the scoreboard, and I have to do everything to get out there and get the result that I need to get. And we'll see if America is capable of doing. But I do see that this America side, I don't expect them to play as, 2-por-2 in Rayadas' stadium. I do feel like that is exactly when Collar is going to be. Look, we are going to be as defensive as possible. We're going to try to shut everything down. We're going to have 10 defenders in the box, and we're going to have one offensive player, Danny, doing whatever she can do. But I think that if America is smart and if America is capable of doing, like you mentioned, AJ, frustrating the Rayada side, we're going to get a couple of good counters. We're going to get a couple of good chances. And all America needs to do is just put one away, one in the back of the net, and it turns the game on its head.
No doubt about this defense. Everyone needs to play a big role. But like as you mentioned, especially Jocelyn, she has a height of 6 foot. And she can defend. She could slide type. She could get her foot on the ball. She could use her body, whatever it is. There's even a point where she could pretty much dribble the ball and juke a forward on the opposition. Just make the one like where the ball goes. So that's something we need to see from Jocelyn. And she's gonna have a big task in having to cover someone from Rayadas and Christina Birkenrow, which I mentioned before. She's 5'10". That's really tall for a forward. And for defense, they're usually, I think, around 5'5", 5'3", 5'6", whatever that may be. Christine Birkenrow, you might need to get a defender to on, but if you have someone like Jocelyn, she could take her down and know what she needs to do. So I feel like really Jocelyn, she needs to have a big game. And I feel like especially at set pieces, this is a time where I feel like she should definitely get her head into the ball and score, because I feel like it should be one of those instances where I'm surprised she only has one goal, and that did come from a set piece where she had, but I felt like she should be getting like 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 goals from this and just alone from set pieces, because the players we have that can deliver the ball to her from the corners like Vero Perez or Monte Hernandez, You see that ball connect right to Jocelyn. She doesn't even need to jump at times. She just simply just heads it right in, and then you just see the goalkeeper essentially flying, trying to save. But no, just really, Jocelyn, she's gonna have a really big job, as you mentioned. She's gonna actually have to act like the heart of defense because you're playing as a center back. Yes, you have Moni, who we see as another captain on this side, but she's covering the right-hand side, really. She can't always be the one having to go in as a center back. Then you have players like Ana Gabi, who's been supporting Monica since day one when this team first started. She knows what she needs to do, but she, like you mentioned, she lacks a little bit of height, but she's still tall and like 5'7". But you have a player like Josu who could support her in this case when it has to come down to taking out a defender. And then in the left back position too, where it's Selena Valera or Jimena Rios, these girls, they know what they have to do in the left back position, but it's the matter where you can't be like you usually are against a team like Rayadas, where like you see our left backs and right backs just going up front, just having a field day. It's not the case of Rayadas, because you do that one simple little mistake, it's gonna hurt really badly, and all you're gonna just see is a bunch of Rayada players in blue and white just run down the pitch and then just pass the ball to one another. So it's just really, in this case, defenses really need to come up big. Like we mentioned, there's players. You got Monica Rodriguez, Marcela Valera, Selena Valera, Ana Gabi, Jimena Rios, Jocelyn. Whichever defender that is playing on the field, they need to defend with their hearts. Plays as if like it was their last game for this team before going to Europe. I want these girls to play with their hearts out and defend. Especially Renata Mascheré, she knows what she needs to do. She's got to save every single ball, pretty much. She needs to be the brick wall of this team, and along with their defense, acting as another brick wall right in front of her. So, really, these defenders, they know what they got to do. And these names, you always hear their names left and right in the list when it comes to some of the most solid defenders in this league. And if it is the time to then prove it against a team like Rayadas, to why they're some of the best defenders in this league. And no discredit to Rayadas, they also have a really solid defense as well. So really, it's kind of like in this case, it's like a clash of the defenders to see which defense could beat the other defense at the end. And as you mentioned before, I mean, defense wins you championships, and that's really important. That's really important for this America Femenil side. If they can cover up those silly mistakes that they've done in the regular season and throw it behind and act as if this league is a whole different season where they no longer make those mistakes, this is the time now. If you can frustrate Rayadas and play out of your minds in defense, you're going to get this team to the finals and play against whoever you have to play to earn that second title in your club's history.
Yep. I think you put it perfectly. I mean, the ladies are going to have to go out there and be as disciplined as possible, play a very well-rounded game. And look, I'm not saying that they have to have the most perfect game in the world, but that would help a lot if they did to secure a spot into the final. But AJ, I think we've talked enough about this game. I think we've hyped it up enough. We just can't wait for the ball to start rolling and for us to start watching these ladies play. Give me your prediction for Monday's game, which will be live on TUDN as well, correct?
I like to assume because it is a Monday, I would like to say so, but if not, we could expect America Femenil to also put the link up as well, just like they did earlier today. So you could probably catch the game on there. If not, then time for me to get my goggles on and my little diving gear and search into the web to find a link for this match. So
definitely, and we will let you guys know if there is a link or if it is going to be live via TUDN. But that match is going to be 7 p.m. Pacific time, 9 Central, 10 Eastern. That is right. That is a late p.m. Lady Aguilas game. We love it here because that means most of us should be out of work already and should be able to watch this game. So we're excited. We're ready to go. And AJ, give me your prediction.
My prediction. Should I also mention the lineup if any changes happen?
Yeah, go ahead.
For the most part, I'd say it will usually have the same lineup, but we have seen in the past where Goya, if something happens to go wrong in that first leg, the only difference I may see in this roster is on left back, we would change Selena Valera out for Jimena Rios if she is 100%. And then in the center defense, and then in midfield, if we need to be more defensive and we're going to go 4-4-2, but defense, I'd say you would take Gas out, which I feel that's a really hot take. We put in Vero Perez in. So really, that probably will be the only changes, but that's really about it. You're mostly going to have the same lineup in the first leg. And for my prediction, I got a 1-0 victory going for America Femenil. I'm going with the goal this time. I'm having Eva Gonzalez scoring this one, actually. I'm feeling confident she could score a banger once again and have me screaming on the top of my lungs and make me jump out my couch. So,
well, let's hope that comes to fruition. That'd be a really, really good result for the ladies. Yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit. Jose Sepulveda said important not to give up a visitor goal. That is key. Yes, like we mentioned earlier in the show, that is the most important thing. A clean sheet is going to prove vital to these ladies if and when they can actually keep it come tomorrow. And come Monday, my prediction is a 1-1 draw at Monterrey. And I mean, I would still think that's a pretty good result for the ladies. It's just gonna be up to them to get it. Like I mentioned, if you get that first goal, you frustrate Monterrey, then you're fine. You've gotten that away goal, and now you leave it up to the hands of Monterrey and the Rayadas to do something about, the result. And they're gonna have to be the ones chasing it, and ultimately they're gonna be the ones that are gonna be more tired at the end of this. All right, AJ, anything else to add on before we wrap up the show?
Yes, some news in Coapa. So, for America Femenil, COVID-19 testing was done today, and all results came back negative. So, no one's got a case of COVID, which is really good heading into these upcoming matches against Rayadas.
Awesome. Perfect. COVID test coming back nice and clean, and looks like everyone is off and ready to go. And that's exactly what we are going to be ready to do as well on Friday. AJ is going to have you guys cover all things Lady Aguilas over on our Twitter account. Make sure you guys go follow us at Eagle Eye Podcast. We'll have you guys up to date with everything going on in that matchup against Rayadas at home at the Estadio Azteca. And then, of course, Monday, we'll have you guys again all covered on all things minute by minute in Rayadas Stadium. And so hopefully we are celebrating next week, AJ, with some very good and positive news for the ladies out there. By any chance, if any of you guys are listening, we are very proud of you. We are behind you. We are knowing that you are just at the cusp of making history in an America jersey, and we hope that you guys take the advantage and take the opportunity to go out there and prove yourselves once again that this is and will always continue to be the biggest, largest institution there is, not just in Mexico, but all North America. All right, AJ, thank you again for coming out, my friend. Thank you for another good episode of Lady Aguilas here.
Thank you so much, Iron. As always, you already know, I'm always really excited to always cover anything America Femenil related. I'm just really excited for these upcoming matches because I didn't cry for the men's team, and I straight up might cry if we end up going to the final or we do lose. But I'm feeling very confident that America Femenil can pull off these victories and book their ticket to the finals and get that second title.
Definitely. Well, you guys already hear first. AJ has confirmed that he will be shedding tears, whether they're tears of joy or tears of pain. We will have to find out on Monday, but make sure you guys come back and tune in next week as we'll have you guys covered on all of that and what happens in those two matchups. All right, AJ, thank you again. Thank you so much to everyone. Again, thank you so much. As Christian would say, favorite time of the week, talking all things America, whether it's ladies or men's, but definitely right now because of the ladies being in the Liguilla. All right, then to everyone watching this, thank you so much. To everyone listening, thank you again. To our sponsors, Foot Called, thank you so much. Make sure you guys use that discount code at checkout. And then, yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for us. We'll be back, like I mentioned, next week. Stay safe out there. Please wear your masks. And as always, Arriba America.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was another production of the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 source for all things Club America in English. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Eye Podcast and get all the latest news and coverage. And subscribe to our podcast wherever it is you may listen.